Security or the protection of people from crimes has traditionally been regarded as a domain of the state. However, as urban cities in Africa continue to grow and security challenges become more complex, communities are increasingly taking on more responsibilities in the management of their security. This study by the Center for Human Rights and Policy Studies, CHRIPS, seeks to understand the effectiveness of community-led security mechanisms in 4 East African urban centers.
We had an interest in understanding how communities organize and manage their own security. A lot of the discussions, policy as well as in research, are about the fact that in poor urban communities, the police are largely absent. And many of the policy proposals usually say we need to add more police. But we are interested in finding out, even in the absence of the police in these poor urban areas, what do communities actually do to make themselves more secure?
When we say community-led security mechanisms, in and of itself, it's not a term of art. It's not something you would go out there and find as a thing that people perhaps necessarily automatically understand. It's more of a phenomenon that we recognize exists in society. What that means is that how people are responding to security, but not just questions of perhaps on the basis of what's written in the law, but how the communities themselves are organizing.
In Kigali and Kampala, community-led security mechanisms can be traced to post-conflict challenges. With the states rebuilding, citizens were encouraged to be proactive in the management of their security.
There were a lot of security concerns after the genocide. There was no mechanism rather than police and the state trying to restore security in the country. The security and the army cannot be at every household to secure the citizens. In many ways, the citizens would find alternatives.
This concept of community policing became prominent after the collapse of the Idi Amin regime. The state was in a situation of fluidity. The Amin regime itself had destroyed the institutions, most of the governance institutions, like the police had weakened, the judiciary.
In Kenya and Tanzania, it is more of a result of the perceived state's incapacity to provide adequate security to urban communities that were riddled with high rates of crime. The nature of insecurity witnessed in the 4 locations of the study are mostly similar, the most common being robberies and burglary, often by jobless young men intent on making money either for basic survival or to lead a flashier lifestyle.
Kuna time mzee wangu anatoka job, akanyang'anya na mavijana bag na kila kitu na laptop na phone.
Ntabwo ari ubwo gutega imodoka. Ubujura bugenda bukorwa akenshi barapfumura amazu bagaca mu madirisa bagatwara flat screen bagatwara ibindi bintu by'ibikoresho byo babona ko bagenda bakagurisha amamashini laptops n'ibindi bintu bashobora kugenda bakagurisha.
Hatuna amani. Watoto wetu mabarabarani wanakabwa, wanapigwa mabastola, wananyang'anywa na mapikipiki.
They'd snatch bags from people, snatch phones, and even they would use bars to hit you and take the money, and even murders. They would break into houses.
The models of community-led security mechanisms in the 4 locations were diverse. In Kigali, there is an elaborate model with well-defined structures that has generally been embraced by the community and the state.
Akazi kirondo agakora n'ibirenge. Akagenda azenguruka ahangana no mu mudugudu. Twe dukorera mu midugudu. Uriya rero numwe mu bayobozi mu mudugudu nawe numwe mu bagendesha ikirenge muri bo. ayoboye itsinda ariko nawe abagendana naryo. Hanyuma aba nabo haraho abangaba ba sero komanda, yego nibwo bakibona moto, ariko ubundi nabo bagendeshaga ibirenge, umuntu akihereza task akavuga ati raza kugenderera imidugudu 3 2 uko ashobojwe n'imbaraga ze, ariko ubu bashobora kuhaca hose kugira ngo barebe ko akazi karimo gukorwa neza. Ku rwego rw'umudugudu haba hariyo at least umubare mutoya n'abantu 6 abakeya, ahandi haraho bagera muri 10, biterwa 8 10, hari naho ngaha aho nyine ngaho twicaye harimo 18.
In the community they select some persons of integrity within the community who can keep the security, or whom the citizens can trust to keep the security for them. Then within or among those elected or selected citizens, they would pick one who would come to each and every household to collect some funds. And when they have collected that money, the Irondo is I would say ready to operate. The highest level of Irondo is at sector level. Although they collaborate with the district and police and army at national level, but the structure itself of those elected by citizens starts in a at the top level is at sector level. At sector level they have what we call, it used to be commandant, sector commandant, but now they call it coordinator to make it more civilian. Yeah, and going down or bottom, they have a cell commander who also has some patrollers under his responsibility or her responsibility, and then down there they have a village, which is the lowest administrative structure of the country.
In Kenya, the model is amorphous, with mostly specific sections of the community organizing themselves to intervene in managing their security.
Insecurity ilikuja ikakuwa mbovu, ikakuwa hata hawezi kuja kutembelewa na mtu wenyu, vijana wadogo wanafanya. Sasa ikafika mahali watu wakaamua tuungane tumalize nini? Tumalize wizi.
The landlords and tenants came together in what they formed as an association called MLATA, Landlords and Tenants.
Wananchi wakaunga watu mkono, wakasema kama wizi itaisha watakuwa wanalipa kila nyumba 50. Hiyo pesa inarudi mnagawanishwa venye mlikuwa, kama mko member ite kama ni pesa fulani, juu kulikuwa na ofisi na kaza ya ofisi, alafu ingine members wanagawanishwa. Bora wizi isikue. Hiyo ndio service ilikuwa. Hiyo kipatikano kibo unashikwa, unapigwa na kupelekwa police station.
The Mlango Kubwa Landlords and Tenants Association, known as MLATA, was perhaps the most ambitious attempt to incorporate different community stakeholders. After suffering a setback in its legality with the state, the space has now been occupied by several organizations, mostly community youth groups such as Pekininos, Espana, and Mathare Environmental Youth Group.
Kitu kingine tunafanya kama la donors ni kufanya kazi na administration. I'm very much in contact with the DC, the OCSs, Wakabete, our Limani, because ndio tunafanya kazi nao. So we normally have meetings with them. Wale wengine tunafanya kazi nao guys, la donor ni the chairman of Nimakumi.
In Kawangware, the Dagoretti Landowners Association is one of the important community groups involved in security, working directly with the police and through the government's Nyumba Kumi initiative. There are, however, other smaller informal groups, such as the Simba Youth Group, that are attempting to address security issues by offering young people opportunities for alternative ways to generate income. In Dar es Salaam, the communities of Kigezi Chini and Changanyikeni have implemented 2 different models, G2 and Ulinzi Shirikishi.
We came up with an idea of having a watch group by the name of G2. This G2 is an acronym for Jirani Tulindane. And we organized in such a way that we had groups of youth with a leader. Every day we had about 10 to 15 youth and a team leader and a commander who would patrol the village.
G2 adopted a bottom-up structural approach whose leadership and operation were not connected to established government structure at the ward or sub-ward levels. Ulinzi Shirikishi has a clearly defined administrative structure attached to the government at the local level.
In terms of organization and structure was still the same, but the variations of do is the mode of payment. That they are both organized by elected mtaa chairpersons.
In Kampala, community-led security mechanisms are embedded in the local council system known as LCs, which incorporates local defense units, LDUs, that are primarily concerned with community security.
So the state had a political dimension and it therefore did not leave the LDUs, which were voluntary community-based. It now sort of like upgraded them into state vigilantes. Those are the crime preventers. Gave them special training, more training than the LDUs, made them like an integral part of the police, to bolster the police in fighting the criminals, now come political mobs.
Kirungi nnyo ekyokuwandika ba crime preventers kyayamba bakikola naye nga si bonna naye abamu abavubuka abamu abasingamu obungi bakiyingira naye nga ate bakyamu bwe bamala okiyingira ne bakakasibwa nti ba crime preventer bakwatagana ne poliisi mu kifo ky'okulaga poliisi ekituufu bo bateekawo ekyabwe poliisi nejjira ku kyabwe ekikyamu nti be batuufu kuba already abamu baali babbi asobola okuleetinga poliisi okugigamba nti nagiza mu kifo ekirala ne bajja ne babba ewalala.
Towards 2016, the state upgraded the Local Defense Units initiative to crime preventers to supplement the police efforts. Crime preventers are now the most dominant component of community-led security mechanisms in Kampala. Reacting to challenges in which arrested criminals are often released, communities in Uganda have also adopted an informal justice system to mete out instant justice to suspects.
One of the interesting features that we found out of the community-led security initiatives was the court system, how they dealt with crime perpetrators if they got one. For example, if the LDUs got a criminal, what would they do? You know, they would subject them, depending on the nature of the crime, to a court, a local village court. And this court in most cases was led by the chairman of the area, the local council area, who has elders, who has the community security committee, and they called it Court Mbagirawo. Court Mbagirawo is we do it there and then.
Court ya Mbagirawo ebiseera bisinga abantu bagikozesa ku lw'okulemererwa kwa poliisi abakozesa amateeka nti abantu kibayitirirako ng'omuntu bamukwata bwe bamuta ng'ate afuuse ekizibu ku kyalo. N'olwekyo kkooti Mbagirawo y'abantu yeeyanga okusalawo ng'omuntu emukooye n'emukolako ng'amateeka bwe galagira. Poliisi bw'ejja n'etaasa nga bukyali wateyangudde kutaasa.
In Kigali, the Irondo system has a strong support from the government, including the provision of training to the foot patrollers.
In our country, the participation of the civilians or the community is very important, not only in the security, even in other sectors. But support that the government is providing is just training, because they are supporting themselves.
In Nairobi, there is no structured engagement with formal state security organs, with especially youth-driven groups expressing reservations about collaborating with the police.
Gavana inasema security ni sisi. So hiyo yenu mmeform, hiyo ni kama gang.
Only elite groupings like the Dagoretti Landowners Association have some form of contact with state agencies. In Kampala, the crime preventers have informally been absorbed by the police system, with many of them now considered as part of the formal security system. Crime preventers were selected from local defense units and given both police and political training to instill political loyalty. They were given resources like uniforms, boots, batons, handcuffs, and food.
They make these younger boys to move with them. Some they take it as a full-time work when they are not paying them. But a crime preventer is somebody who is within his jurisdiction. If he sees something wrong, he reports it. That's the work of the crime preventer.
While the establishment of G2 in Tanzania was never connected to the state or its agencies at both the local and national levels, there was a close interaction between G2 and the state in terms of operation. On the other hand, the administrative structure of Ulinzi Shirikishi is entangled in the existing local government administrative system at the mtaa and ward levels.
So what happens is that the police especially have mobile numbers of the commanders of Ulinzi Shirikishi. So when any incident of insecurity happens, the commander have been calling the police to come over. But also at the same time, the police, the fact that they have the mobile numbers of the commanders, every time when they want to do patrols in this area, they have always been calling the youth. And so they come and they are always accompanied by the youth to do the patrols at night.
As these communities strive to be more involved in managing their security, they have faced numerous challenges which include lack of resources, public support, and government collaboration.
To a large extent, there has not been a very strong mobilization of people to ensure that they contribute the little they have to the patrol units. So for most of the time, the youth have been demotivated. So like they are now not providing security because the community is not contributing.
On the one hand, you find in communities groups that have formed like this, youth groups, have turned out to be gangs and vigilante groups on the one hand. And so their interaction, they're a terror to the community. And so by the time the police are called in to engage, you're dealing with layers and layers of gangs and vigilantism and the violence that goes with that.
In urban areas, there is a growing trend where neighborhoods establish community-led security mechanisms to address rising security challenges and complement state activities.
In all the 4 countries, there is actually a space for communities to organize, irrespective of the nature of the political system. For instance, a situation in a place like Rwanda, where security and the state itself is highly bureaucratized and organized.
But in terms of potential, particularly now that there's a recognition that security has to be very clear at the very lowest level of social organization, at the community level. And even the state has stepped in to perhaps try and figure out how do we start building a system or a structure of security right from the root. I think there's a lot to be learned from what communities are doing. But in terms of potential, particularly now that there's a recognition that security has to be very clear at the very lowest level of social organization, at the community level. And even the state has stepped in to perhaps try and figure out how do we start building a system or a structure of security right from the root. I think there's a lot to be learned from what communities are doing.
Poor urban communities are not destitute cases. They have certain forms of resources, finances, capacities, in the forms of information that can actually be tapped from to actually support any forms of organizing.
It is imperative that for these to succeed, various stakeholders need to come